So recording is on. All right, we have an app called Case Management app. It's not the only place that you can get cases from. We also have the case object, right? So the tab. So if you're in your dispatch, app, you can also get to cases from the launcher here. If you want to, you can also add it here, but you won't have the case management features in the case management app. So I'm going to suggest that when you're working cases, you do it from case management. It'll just be easier. We also have an option to use what's called a console view, and I want you to keep it in the back of your mind. Console view is very much like our billing console. It is tabbed viewing, so it looks very, very similar to this, but there's a whole bunch of difference in how things work together. It basically creates a group of related tabs. So if you have a case open in a tab, then in a sub-tab you'll have the case, and then if you want to look at related work orders, you can see that in related tabs, all within that same case area. And I'll show you that at another time. So from case management, we have the same thing that you're used to seeing. Our home tab shows two dashboards. This up top is my dashboard, right? This is my cases, my cases to update, my average aging, whatever, right? So you can see anything that you've accepted and that you need to work on, right? Most of this is like, these are all open cases and these are open cases. These are just everything. So when you're looking at my whatever, if there's anything in here, those are the cases that you accepted during that day or that were assigned to you during that day directly, not to your queue. To look at queues, we look at the second dashboard. Now, the second dashboard allows us to see everything, right? So here we have cases by day. So we can see how many cases today, for example, you can see we're just over 400 cases. All right, that's basically means that we've had 400 emails, right? Yesterday I turned it on, whatever. I'm not doing a whole lot of playing around with these other than assigning types so that we can have things in groups so you can see what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. And when I walk through the process of how to update these cases and stuff, you'll see where this information is coming from. Right, but we've got 156 cases that didn't collect the type, so they're probably just chitter chatter from customers or ASPs or whatever. I did make a slight change to the rules, so now there's a new queue called ASP. So if the type of account is an ASP account, then it comes into the ASP instead of going to other, so that it can give us kind of some separation. There are updates, there's voicemails, there's whatever. So you will see all the statuses there. Within this dashboard, we can see cases that need things done to them. They're not assigned. They're either a new or an open status. And then over here, we can see the average aging by customer for all their cases, right? So we can see number of cases and how many or what the average aging is, right? And then below that, we can just see a couple of KPIs. We can update these or change them however you really need to see them, or we can just remove them completely if they're not useful. And when we're talking about this type of dashboard is for day-to-day management, right? This is for you being able to handle and manage however many calls, 400 cases per day, right? So, within this dashboard, I've given us just the basic team queues, team 1, team 2, team 3, so you can see what's assigned to team 1 that has not been accepted yet. So there should be nothing in these teams. At the end of the day, somebody should have picked up these cases and started working on them, right? And when I say pick them up, I'll show you. It means you accept them and you create yourself as the owner, right? They'll still show up when you show all, but they, these are going to be the ones that you want to really pay attention to, right? Okay, so that's one thing. If you have something in here that you want to look at, right? So let's say we want to look at all these unassigned. We can just click on the highlight, and it'll take us to a filtered report. And the filtered report is by by type and account, right? And then we can show the detail rows, and we can actually see the jobs that make up those 51 calls. You can click this chart to hide the chart, right? And then you can look at this. If you want other columns on here or whatever, you can feel free to add them. You can just click on edit and add, right? I wouldn't do it from a filtered report, but you can do it from the base report that's not filtered. Or you can just say, hey, Jesse, can you add these columns? And I'll absolutely add them for you. Okay, so if there's not enough information here, which I doubt there's gonna be, because I just threw some fields on here. You guys are gonna tell me what you actually want to see as you're doing this, right? Of course, you can click on the case number to open up the case. You can click on the headers to sort and filter, right? And you can change the filters or add filters here if you edit. When you're working on a dashboard report, I'm going to ask that even if you have access to, don't edit it, change the filters, save, and then save, because you're going to skew the results on the dashboard itself. So I would say if you're going to do that, click Save As and create a copy of it in your own personal reports for you to use, right? That'll be useful for you. Okay, so report viewing is not the only way to get to these things. We can get to them on the cases view, right? So Madison, when you're filtering the other queue, it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to do it in a list view than it is going to do from the report. And the reason being is because you can bulk process things in a list view where you can't bulk process things in a report. So if we were to switch this over to other, we can see that all of these, I'm going to filter it by, I'm going to sort it by date and time opened, right? So all of these are in the other. They just need to be assigned over to a queue or to a person, right? So some of these things are Worldwide Express Pro number. It's never gonna assign to a tech or a user or contact or whatever. So it's going to show up in other. So then these are going to be the ones that you can then decide where they go to. So if I wanted to assign these, like these delivery failures, this is email, IT stuff. Let's just say it's IT stuff. So we can just check the boxes and then change the owner. And then you can assign it to Jesse. Or there's an IT queue. You can send it to the queue. I don't really care either way, right? But then you do that, and then boom, they're gone out of the other queue. Now you can do that with as many as you want, and it's never going to hurt anything, right? You can also say, all right, these are whatever. You can assign them to anybody who shows up, any user in the system. So if it's Josh working on that Worldwide Express, then you can assign it to Josh. That's fine, if he knows that he's going to have cases there, right? You don't assign something to a person that doesn't know about cases and they're not going to complete them. All right. So if they're not going to do it, just forward it to them in an email and then close the case yourself. So accept it and close it yourself, right? That's the intent anyway. So if these things are, let's just grab these couple and say, I'm going to take them myself. You just click on accept, and then they're assigned to you. So when you come back to your home screen, they're going to be here now. They'll be here in my cases, and they'll be over here in my cases by day and update, whatever. It'll be included in this dashboard up top. Clearly not. I'm going to have to figure out what the filter is there. All right. Working within the case, it's super simple. Okay, whenever a case comes into Salesforce, it's going to come in with a status of open. With that status is going to trigger our assignment rules, right? Our assignment rules are going to look for a contact. If we can find a contact by this email address, then it's going to assign the contact, and then it's going to look up the owner for that contact's account, and it's going to try to assign it to a queue based on that contact, on that owner. It sounds complicated, but it's really pretty easy. The only time you're going to see it is when it's already a status of new. Once it's assigned to whatever queue it can find, right? If it doesn't match any rules, it goes to other. If it matches a rule, then it goes to the team queue that it's specified to. And then it updates to new. If it can, it'll assign a type, right? So IVR updates, I'm going to draw a blank, some repair requests from the app, whatever. Those things are already assigning types to. Anything else is going to be up to the person processing the case to set that type. And I'm going to ask that we be really strict about updating it so that we can track and figure out what kind of cases we have, and then find patterns and rules that we can apply and then automate these kinds of things, right? So so we'll keep doing that. Editing and updating these, we have all kinds of options, right? We can, if we're going to communicate internally, we can post a chatter. So if I wanted to say, David, what's up with this case? I could just say, David, what's up with this case? Right? That's internal communication. It's not shared with any customers or technicians. Technicians don't have access to cases, neither do customers at this time, but they will. But these chatter feed is going to be only available to internal users, right? So you can put pretty much whatever you want in there. And as long as it says to Total Service Solutions only, you're good to go, right? We can log calls, right? Same as whatever. If we're talking to, if we're talking to somebody at Express Facility Management, we can put the comments here. We can put it to a contact. Now, I don't see, here we go. Why is there two? Whatever. All right, so we can do that and we can save. That's going to just, again, put it in the feed that we created to call, right? So you see how the history is building as we do as we make updates. We're going to see things come into the feed here. We can also do. Oh, I shut off email. We can also do email. Email will show up here as well, and it's the exact same editor that you guys are used to seeing. All right. If this guy doesn't exist as a contact, right? What I'd like to do is just click on Add Update a Contact. Look for the contact here. So there's two here, which makes me a little bit nervous. So I'm gonna not. Hello. Can you guys see the screen that popped up?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So you can see that you can just search in there for a name and then look for anything that exists. This guy's got his email already exists, but it's a duplicate. You see how it's duplicated there? So it's got, for some reason, he's got two contacts for the same user. So that's why it got confused, right? And it didn't select the contact. So we're going to go ahead and select that one. Oh, it's a different email address. Let's go ahead and cancel that. I'm not going to do it because this was a bad example, but that's how you would do it, right? So if you see that and it doesn't exist, then you can search for the contact here. If it still doesn't exist, you click next, or if it does exist, you can still grab it and update the contact, right? So this is, so we're creating a contact called Express Facility Management with sales, and we're going to do Express Facility Management, right? So we're looking up the account, we're attaching it. Now when I click next, oh, yeah, it found a duplicate. So that's why it broke. Oh, Denise Richards. You see how that happened? So Denise Richards has sales. I'm not sure why it didn't accept that, but we're going to go ahead and put Denise in there. So Denise already exists. All we have to do is hit next, and then it updates the contact and the contact email and the account name. So now this case is related to that account, right? You don't have to put it to the person that sent the email. If you would rather assign it to a customer account or whatever, you can absolutely do that by manually editing the account name, right? What else do we have here? So we have dispatch, right? If we work through this and we do the triage and we decide we want to create a work order, we can click on dispatch and it gives us the form for creating a work order. This is exactly the new process that I showed you guys a few weeks ago, right? This is so this is not new. You're just going to, set the service type. You'll click next. You have to put in a component, and I'll show you an easy way to do this in a minute. It's going to take whatever is in the description and put it here in the problem description. So what I'm going to ask you to do is the same thing that I always ask you to do, which is read it, validate that it's a good problem description, and if it's not, edit it, right? So get rid of all the extra stuff and just put whatever you want in there. I added the description to make it kind of easier for these guys when they're entering. But that's going to be up to you guys whether or not you want me to keep that or if we take it out and just let them freehand it in there. Okay. So let me show you the component thing. All right. So there are two fields over here in the details called location and installed equipment. There's no way for me to grab that out of the email, so I can't automatically do it. However, when you're looking at this and you say, okay, this is for location whatever, and I think I only have one location in here. I don't have any locations for this customer. Oh, it's not a customer, that's why. Again, bad example. We can put location in there and we can put installed equipment in there, and then when we do that, they're already going to be here when we click dispatch. So you won't have to look up the component again. If you want to, you can, right? But you don't have to. All right, so let's say this is just an update. It's not a new repair request. It's just an update. So then we're going to go to link a work order. If the work order already exists, all you have to do is look up the work order and select it and hit save. As soon as you do that, this case is linked to that work order. If you need to do any kind of follow-up with the case, you can. If it's just create the link and then update the work order, then just create the link and then you can see the link on the related tab under referenced work orders. You see how that is? Then you can click on the work order, you can update the work order as normal, however you want to do it. We need to really develop this process because I think a lot of these are just going to be really quick. I just need to update the work order, right? It's just an update to the work order. And I don't want you to have to, okay, click, update the work order, come back, update the case again. So we're going to need to, it's not going to be there immediately, but that's what we need to do, right? So we're going to say, okay, let me let me update the work order and then come back and close the case, right? Automatically through the process. It's not going to do that right now. So what you're going to do is you're going to link the work order, and then you're going to go to the work order and update it, and then you still have to close the case, right? If you need to create a task for a follow-up or to do anything with this case, you can absolutely do that. I would highly recommend starting to use tasks, but not overuse them, okay? Sometimes we get a little bit overzealous and we create tasks for everything, and then somebody's got 5,000 tasks to do every day. I wouldn't do recurring tasks. I would only do things like, hey, I have to call this guy on Tuesday. I have to make sure that this repair gets done by Saturday, right? So create a task on Friday, and then when it pops up and says, hey, you got to call this guy, then call him, and complete the task. We can integrate that, whatever. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. That's fine. Okay. If it's I'm not sure why we put new case in here, but you can create a new case from this case. So if you pull up an old case and it's the same issue and you want to create a new case, you can from here. Whatever. You can also relate it to another case, right? So you can create a child case. So if this, let's say this express facility management was in reference to 3 different repairs or whatever, you could create 3 children tasks for this one task, or 3 children cases for this one case. Sorry. All right. Oh, and then we got a close case button. So she must be working on this one. That's going to be upcoming functionality that we'll talk about at another time. Okay. All right. So what can we see in the details? In the details, we have the case number and the account name. We have a type. We have a status, and we have the case owner. All right. The type is just a very basic of what is this case for, right? I have a feeling that these are going to need to be massaged a little bit, because as I was going through, I was struggling a little bit to place them in proper in a proper type, and then we were getting a little too grainy as far as what we had there. So we have an estimate submitted and an estimate response, which I think is fine because one's from the customer, one's from the ASP, right? But we had some other stuff in there that was a bit too much. So we have inquiry and update. An inquiry would be a question from a customer. When is this going to be done? Whatever, what's the ETA? Did they get there? Whatever, right? A repair request is going to be obviously a repair request. Update is going to be from an ASP. They're updating us with a status, or I used it a couple of times if they're refusing jobs, right? If they're declining work, I put it as update as well. This is the same kind of action. If we want to have a decline on there, we can add that. IVR voicemail, that's automatically assigned when it comes from the IVR. Those should be flowing through to the proper accounts once that goes to production. Right now, the work orders are not in the sandbox, so it doesn't do it, but they will. Estimate submitted, again, that's an estimate from the ASP. You're going to have to manually set that. Estimate response, same thing. It's going to be a response from the customer saying that it's approved or declined. Internal is anything that's coming, that sneaks through, that's from a Serve Solutions, Gopher Parts, or GCM team email address, right? So anything that sneaks through into a case is going to show as an internal. Your choice what you want to do with those. Madison or David, you can either just delete the cases or you can work them if they need to be worked, right? And then finally, new equipment. I don't see that being used too much, okay? So type is going to be important. We're going to be able to do reporting on types. So you can see on the dashboard that cases by type, cases by day is filtered by type, right? So these are the different, excuse me, these are by customer, these are by type, right? Sorry, I'm getting chatted here.
Hey Jesse, where would like a parts order request? Would that still just be on a repair request?
So I wanted to add another one in exactly for that because I saw a few of them.
Okay.
Now there's another field that I'm not using right now that we might want to use, but it's old hat, and I'm not going to talk about it on this call. I think maybe I'll show it to you and you guys say that's too much, right? But it's basically when we had this before, it was case reason, and basically it was standard service, whatever. It had all the different repair types on there. Again, I think it's overkill, but we can look at it if we want to. I would say just on here, do repair request, do parts direct, and leave it at that. That's gonna, if you're okay with that, that's what we're gonna do, right?
Yeah, I'll say ain't nothing
If you'd rather,
standard service anymore.
no,
It's
it's
all it's
not.
all emergency.
It's all different. So emergency, I didn't have that on here. We're gonna need to have that too. That's going to be important. So you said like your important view or whatever. We probably want to have something that shows that it was called in super emergency or it's high profile, and that way we can make sure that we close it out very quickly. All right, statuses. Statuses are, where is this order? Open and new. Again, we already talked about open and new. Open is when it's brand new. It just got entered. It's open. If you set it back to open, you're probably going to trigger a workflow and it's going to kick it out of open. All right. And it's going to reset it to something you don't want it to. So don't use open. Open is just for when the case is first created, it's going to default to open. When it runs through the flow, it goes to new. New tells you that, hey, I got to do something with this new. I got to do something with it. I got to accept it. I got to, triage it. I have to reply to a customer. I have to do something, right? More importantly, it means that it's assigned to a queue or should be assigned to a queue, and you need to accept it, right? You need to get it out of the queue and work on it. And not you specifically, anybody in your team, right? So anybody who's working on cases needs to get it out of that status as soon as possible, because that's going to tell us what else they're doing with it, right? So right now, and there's going to be more of these, and you guys will tell me that, but right now we have accepted, which I'm going to do a flow that says when they click that accept button, it's automatically going to change it to accepted. Okay, that tells you, David and Madison, that when you're looking at that case, that it's already been, somebody's already working on it or somebody's already grabbed it, right? If it's not accepted, that means nobody's touched it. And that's how we need to think, right? So if it's not accepted, nobody's doing anything with it, right? If it's new, then, or even open, God forbid, but if it's open or new, nobody's working on it yet. So you need to start kicking people or working it, right? Triage is for repair requests when you're doing the triage, right? Is not the same as dispatch approval needed. That's why there's two different things, right? So triage is going to be triage. You're actively communicating with the customer, trying to get details about repairs or validate locations. I've seen a couple of emails where you tried to validate the location, David. I've seen those. So you've got a triage. Awaiting reply would be if the customer asked you a question and you responded with, hey, I need more information or whatever. That's a communication between you and the customer, right? If I didn't put, communicating with the customer or anything like that, because you should never leave it in that state, right? So it should only be left sitting in a waiting reply. It should never be waiting on us to respond to the customer. So if we have the information, do you understand that? So if we have the information, send the email right now and then change it to awaiting reply, right? Don't ever let it sit in, if it's an inquiry, type, right? If it's not moved out to processing or dispatch approval or dispatched, then it should be awaiting reply. It should be that we have recorded, we've gone back to the customer or whatever, right? Processing estimate, it was something else before. I just put it that, if you receive an estimate and you start working on it, just put it to processing estimate until it's in a state, right? So if you're back and forth with the ASP about pricing or part numbers or whatever, just put it processing estimate and let it stay there. And that way we know we're working on an estimate. Once then she updates the estimate and sends it to the customer, then she can obviously close the case, right? And then dispatch approval needed is the last open status. And that's going to be just we're waiting for the customer to approve the dispatch. If it's going to be an extended period, I wouldn't let it go more than a day, right? And then because we already have a process in place on the work order to give us the dispatch approval needed, right? So we can put it on hold. So create the work order and put it on hold, and then we'll continue with the work order process. And eventually, maybe we'll look at pulling that back into the case process. But for right now, the hold times, the SLA, whatever, it's based on having a work order in that status, right? So you create the work order and put it in a dispatch approval needed status, and then we've got our hold times. Okay. There are two other statuses, and they're both closed. So I'm just going to click on closed, but I'm not going to complete it, right? So we're going to go to select closed status, and we've got two. Dispatched is automatically going to be selected. I spoke to Madison, and she wants the case done. She doesn't want to come back to the case once we create a work order, and that's great. I don't need to, right? We don't need to at all. All we need to know is that we created a work order. So when you create the work order through the dispatch button here, it's automatically going to set the case to dispatched, and it'll be closed and off of your open reports, right? If you're just closing a case, you've answered it, you've updated a work order, you've created an estimate, you've responded to the customer, then we're going to click closed, or we're going to close case, and then we're going to fill out certain forms. There's a resolution field that we're going to type, what did we do to complete this, right? And we're just going to say, updated customer, or created an estimate, or whatever, right? Once we've done that and it's closed, we don't need to worry about it anymore. Cancel that. Okay. Once we've got the case and we review it, the easiest way to update the status, right? If we're not going to do anything with it right now, or if we sent the email or whatever, we can just click on awaiting reply and click as mark as current status. Okay. Marking as current status does exactly what we just did here. You can either click the pencil and drop it down, or you can click the path and do it. You can skip over as many statuses as you want. These are not in order. They're just kind of in order. So if you're awaiting reply and you hit mark status as complete, it's going to go to processing estimate, but that might not be the right status to go to, right? So there's really no other functionality here except that's nice and easy to do. Okay. If you click on this, you can see, if you click on this arrow over here on the side of the path, you can see a little guidance. It says use this estimate. Use a status when you're working on an estimate from an ASP. Complete the case once you submit the estimate to the customer. So I tried to do that for each status. And if it doesn't look right to you or it doesn't sound right, then kick it back to me and I'll update it to different wording. Okay. Really, I did that for new people. You guys are not going to do that. You're going to be buzzing through these things, right? Trying to get through them as quickly as possible. if you're ever curious, well, what do I use this status? Then just click on that for guidance and you can see exactly what it is. Okay. All right. So that's the top part. Over here is all contact information. This is pulled automatically. You can update it if you want to. If you want to set a phone number or a mobile phone number for each contact, I would ask that you do that. But when you do that, so if let's say they have let's say they have an email signature with a cell phone number in there, then go back to your add update contact. It's going to automatically pull the contact that's listed here. You click next, and then you can update their mobile phone and click next, and then it'll actually update their contact record with that phone number. Cool. You can do the same thing if they want to change their email address or whatever, or if they change their name or anything, whatever you need to do, you can do it to the contact right here. Just know that you're directly changing that contact. Okay. You can also link to that contact by clicking on anything that's blue. And you can, again, you can update anything on that contact as well. If you do it that way, it won't necessarily update in the case. You may have to refresh the case. All right, below that we have the web name, web email, web CC, web company. These come from the email that created this case. All right, so you don't really have to worry about that. If you look at it and you see it's different than the contact that's here, either somebody updated it or the rules say don't use the web email, use a CC or something like that, right? Below that, we have the case origin. Those are automatically email or apps. If it comes from the app, we're getting it from the app, and if it's getting from an email, technically the app is coming through an email, but I put it to app so that we can give it some separation, right? If you create a case by phone, which I'm going to ask you to start doing that, go ahead and put it to phone or web, right? Web we're not using yet, but eventually we're going to have a form on the website that'll go directly to a case. So that'll be that. I believe the default is phone. So if you go ahead and create a case from a phone call, it's automatically going to go to phone. Default to tier 3. If it's a higher priority, you can move it up, right? So what we spoke about, how to process these things, right? If it's hot, put it to tier 1. If it's just a standard case, just leave it at tier 3, right? Or if it's kind of hot, you got to follow up within a day, whatever, just put it to tier 2. You can then, we can do creative reporting, or we can search for just tier 1s, tier 2s, tier 3s, and again, we can prioritize that way. But that's going to be up to you guys, right? You're going to need to set that based on your knowledge of whatever you're working on, right? And then pay attention to it. Resolution, again, resolution is just going to be notes on whatever you did to complete the order, or whatever you did to complete the case. Sometimes it's going to be filled out automatically, like when we dispatch the order, it's automatically going to be filled out. There's going to be other things that will automatically take care of this, and as long as you guys keep feeding back to me what you want to automate, we will continue to automate this so that you have continually less and less to do, right, when it comes to this stuff. All right, so that's it on the details. Underneath, you can see the emails. This is the email that generated the case, and then anything that responds to it, right? So if you send an email out, it's going to show up here. If they respond back and it captures that email, it'll show up here. So we're going to get replies to your emails stacking up on these cases. All right. So you'll have to come back and look at these again. I'm trying to decide how we're going to notify the owner of new emails, right? As of right now, it's in your personal settings that it's automatically switched on, that you're notified when a new email is received on the case. So if you own that case, you're going to get an email to your personal inbox that says, hey, you got a new email on this case.
It won't show up in your own cases, like it won't reappear or have like any type of
So
marker.
it will. It will. It's never going to go away in my cases, right? So if you're in my cases now, the problem with that is that your my cases is going to be everything, right? I also have my open cases. So if you have my open cases and you're expecting replies, you can there's no way to see here in the list which ones have new replies to them. Okay. So maybe we can do some automation there. I'll look into it a little bit more. But for right now, they're going to get an email saying that you have a new message on the case, and it'll have a link to the case and whatever, so they'll be able to see it.
Okay.
I actually had that question, and I didn't ask Hermisha.
Yeah, it's because it could get like we're just swimming in a mess of cases and there's somebody who needs like an answer within 15 minutes, or something, you know what I mean? And we don't catch it because we've got like 70 cases that we're trying to work on a person, and that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
And you have to go back and forth from your email, but they already have a bunch of stuff coming in their inbox already. So it might just be like their inbox is going to be double the size that it normally is. And
well, it's not going to send an email.
Okay.
It's not going to send an email for the initial one. It's not going to send an email for the initial one, just for the replies.
Right.
So,
for the replies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can shut that off, and you can shut that off and have it or change it so that it doesn't come every single time, right? So you can have it just you can just manage your cases through your queue, right? Through your screen here. You don't have to manage through your email. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe we could get another column that shows last modified or last email sent, so that they might see that.
Yeah, that's the automation that I was looking at. It doesn't exist right now, but I'll put something on there that, and I'm just my ideas right now. I'm not promising any specific thing, but I'm going to do something like reply received or something like that. And as long as it's unread, as long as the email's unread, then it'll show as a flag. And if not, if the email gets read, then it'll uncheck that, right? So then maybe we'll have a separate view on their dashboard that says you have replies as well as your new cases.
Okay.
Is that that's good, right? Okay.
Yeah. As long as we know that someone has just emailed us, as if we're like looking, we might have like 20 different emails that, are like the hot cases for that day. You just don't want anything to kind of just slip by for a couple of hours. You know what I mean? Because you didn't go back to it and now you're just doing everything else. You didn't know that they responded back to you yet.
Yeah.
Of course you can take notes, but it's,
Yeah, and that's going to be huge. So those are going to be like the cases, like if you're actively back and forth with a customer, right? It's going to be, the status is going to be something else like awaiting reply or whatever. But then you're going to have your new and open, right? So the new cases, those are going to be the ones that are coming in. So you have to handle those new ones quick. Just however, get them out of new, whatever you're doing, right? Address them, get them out of the new status, and move them into something else. So you'll be able to capture them there. So then the only thing we have to really worry about is the reply, right? So when we respond to that email, then however many responses we've done, we get replies to, we need to be able to track those replies and be able to respond to those as well, right? So that's what we're talking about.
Right. And this would also apply to, let's say that we closed out a work order for a customer January 31st, and they're emailing us now off that same email, but the case is closed, everything's done. It's just the only way we would be able to see that that customer replied back to that email is by doing some additional things here that you're talking about, right? Or
So how do we, well, so how do we want that to work? So if the case is closed, I believe it will create a new case, and then it'll be the same flow, right? I believe that's true. We're going to find that out very quickly when we go live.
yeah. Okay.
I'm going to test it. I'm going to test it before we go live, just to kind of see if, and I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I can also have it just reopen that case if that's what you want to do. But that's
Yeah,
going to be another customization.
yeah,
How would you rather
I'm
do it?
not
Would you rather do
partial
it with?
to any. I'm not partial, really. I don't mind if it's a new case, but because if anything, if we close the work order and it's, you know, like a whole week later, we're not going to be doing a recall, right? We are going to have to create a new work order. So a new case would be preferred
Yeah.
normally. But I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that we can see that email.
Okay. So you'll have full access to everything. If they use the same work order email or case email, you'll have access to, you know, the case number, and if we, as long as we update these things correctly, you'll be linked to a work order. When you dispatch a case, there's a field on the work order called case, and it's only used when the case creates the work order. So from the work order, you'll be able to link directly back to the case if you need to. And you'll also be able to link directly from the case to that work order. So as long as you have one of those two things, you can get to both of those records. Does that make sense? And then if it's 5 days or 7 days or 10 days or 2 months later and they're calling a recall, you'll know how to work it, right? So if you can access the original work order and we have a new case, then you're going to link that case to that work order and you're going to recall it. But if it's not eligible for recall, then you're going to create a new work order from that new case.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm cool with that. I just wanted to make sure we could see the emails that were coming in from a reply from an old case, like it being alerted.
You'll see that.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see that. Yeah, you'll absolutely see the full. Let me see if I've got one here. So this is an RE, and I'll show you what the email looks like. So in the description, you can see the full email chain. So you see how it scrolls and scrolls and scrolls forever, right? This one's not too bad, but I did see some others. I remember we talked about it, and you said you have to go through the whole email chain in order to see what's going on and whatever. It definitely shows in here, every last bit of it. There is a length, and it will shut off eventually, but I think it's like 130,000 characters or something like that. So it's a big field. That being said, it will not. You can't use that many characters in a problem description. So you're absolutely going to have to make sure that you chop those down when you create the work order. If you can't see it for whatever reason, or if there are multiple emails, you'll see them all here in the emails section, right? So these are all the related emails. So these are the case is not actually what it's receiving. The email is transmitted to Salesforce, and Salesforce creates an email message object, right? So it's a record, just like a work order, just like a contact or an account. It creates an email message, and that's what this is, right? So we can see the message, we can see the header, who's it from, who was it sent to. Here's the body of the email and the whole, it's got the whole thing. All right. We can also see if it's related to a case, and we can see if there were any attachments on it. Those attachments are both on the email and on our case. We might be able to get them over to the work order if you want to. But again, that's going to be something that we do, at another time. But you guys got to tell me, all right? And then here's any information. When did we receive the email, right? Who's it from? Who's it to? These are those web addresses that I was telling you about on the case. Okay. All right, so that's that. You guys know how to use the accordions. These can close up so that you can see things a little bit better, or you can keep them open however you prefer. That's fine. On the related tab, all right, we talked about the feed tab, right? So the feed is going to show you any actions that you've done on the order. If you've recorded a phone call, if you've done chatter, if you've sent any emails, you'll see that there. You will not see replies in the feed, and you won't see external emails on the feed, right? So you'll have to see those in the related. The related list is going to show you any open tasks or events. On the open activities, it's going to show you any emails. That's exactly the same list that's over here. So don't think it's anything different. It's just in two different places. I put it on here so that it's up in front and center so that you can see it, but it's also here. If that's confusing, I can remove this one or this one, whichever. Related cases, if you've added any related cases, you can see them there. Oh, Bob had to leave. Thanks. Apparently John left a while ago. Okay, reference work orders, those are the emails, those are the linked work orders. We did not create those work orders from this case. We just linked to those work orders, right? So those are for ASP updates, estimates, whatever. Go ahead and link them, all right, so that we have those connections. Work orders with the gear here, these are actually, I gotta get rid of that. These are actually work orders that we created from this case. So from going on the feed to dispatch and creating the work order here, that will put the work order here. So if there's a work order under work orders, that means you created that work order from this case. All right. You can also get a work order to show up there is if you go to a work order that was created manually not by a case, and you want to link a case to it. So if you then go back and find a case, say for a MatWorks call that came through Pronto and it created the work order automatically, those should not be coming through. Those should just be going to Savannah. But if it did create a case for whatever reason, you could then put that case on the work order and it would show up here in the case field on the work order. All right. Case teams we're not using right now. So you can actually create a team to work on a specific case. So if, let's say you wanted to just have, I don't know, 2 or 3 different people working on it. If you wanted me involved in it or John or something, you could add them as team members and then it would show up there. We're not really utilizing that functionality, so it won't really do anything, but you'll be able to do it there. Notes and files, exactly the same as on the work orders. You can add notes. Those are internal. They're not public to anybody, so you can share them with internal users. You can make them just private, whatever. And you can also attach them to other records. So exactly the same. Files, same thing. If you need to update, if you have, if it's an estimate or if there was an attachment on the email that came in, it's going to show up here under files. All right. History just shows you what fields are being updated, and then activity history shows you if there are any completed tasks or cases. Unbelievable. Sorry. Okay. So I think that's it. I didn't really do anything as far as changing work order process. So you don't have to do anything different on work orders.
Can you show me how to get one of those cases just to be like, if we just wanted to click red in Gmail because it means nothing, Like instead of deleting it, like what would you do to get rid of it completely? Do you have to go into each one of those? So like, let's say I get like 50 all at once that I don't really need them, or just theoretically speaking, what could I get rid of like a bulk of them all at once?
Okay, so I'm gonna get you a button on the list view, right? But let's say hang on, it's thinking. It's thinking. All right. So in the case itself, I'm going to show you that first. Okay. In the case itself, you can, there's a new button here called close case. Okay. This is really going to be where you're going to do your closing, right? On a case by case basis. So each one that you do, you're going to come in here, you're going to put something on the case, right? So I've already done this, right? So this one was, he just was saying, thank you. So I said, this would have been an order, but because it wasn't, he was just saying thank you and responding. We don't really need to do anything with it. So we just say, nicety, nothing to do with it, whatever. Change the status to closed and then hit save. That's going to close the case, right? If you're on, let's say you've got a bunch of them and you're in other and you don't want to do that. Or you can be in all cases, you can be in other, you can be whatever you want, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to do this. Then it's the same thing. You highlight these, and as long as there is a status field on here or any field on here that has a pencil, then you can mass update, right? So we're going to change these all to closed, update 8 selected, and hit apply. Okay? And then hit save. And then what I would say also is, I wouldn't just leave them in other unless you really want to. I would make sure they're not all in other. These are team 1, team 3, team 2, whatever, right? So that's really up to you. I wouldn't really leave them in queues. I would make sure they're assigned to somebody. So maybe you want to just accept them. So you would just say, okay, these are junk, and I'm just going to say Madison. So the only difference between what I just did and what I showed you on the individual one is that we can't enter a resolution on those. So if you want me to do a type of no action, right? No action needed.
Yeah.
Or something, and then just have you go ahead and do it in bulk closed, right? And then whatever, then we can do that.
Yeah, because I would hate to waste time if I knew that there were like these emails were coming over, but there was no action needed, but then I have to go in and put notes for each one to close it. It would be
that
nice
would suck,
if there
right?
was like
Yeah. No, I didn't make the resolution required. I'm gonna automate it as much as I possibly can, right? So when you create the work order, it's automatically going to dump something into the resolution and close the case. So once you do that dispatch, you never have to come back to that case again if you don't want to. All right, it's automatically going to be taken care of for you.
Okay, and then these, when they say closed, are they going to go away so that it will clear the board or the list view for everything else, or I just need to change it up there to how I want it filtered?
So all cases is never going to be filtered, right? All cases is never going to be filtered, and it shouldn't be. If you guys filter it, I'm going to have to lock it down. All should just be everything, right? If you look at other, right? There's also no filter on it, right? That's because it's not really intended to have closed cases in it, right? But you can, right? So if you don't want to look at closed, you can over here just say add filter, whatever, as long as you have access to do so. If you don't, then you can probably create a new list view and we can create whatever you want, right? We can create reports, we can create list views, whatever. When you're on your home screen, again, these dashboards are reports, so you're not going to be able to. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to go right here. So these are reports, so you're not going to be able to do that mass editing in a report. But these are all cases. These are only open cases, right? So these are open or new. They're not triage. They're not anything. These are ones that you actually have to actually do something with, right? Or you have to look at them, or somebody has to do something with them, right? So if they're in a queue that needs to be updated, and you can click into the report either through the link down here, or you can click through this stuff. More chats. David's going. Okay. Oh, he's got to go get his charger. And this aging is also just open stuff. I would say once you figure out how you want to look at it, then we'll create whatever views you want. I did not want to overload with list views. You know how it is with work orders, and you got to scroll for about 17 days before you find the one you want. I didn't want to do that. So you'll notice that the only things here are recently viewed. Why did she do another one? I don't know. They're recently viewed and just normal queues, right? These queues are made automatically when you create the queue. So they're all here. If it turns out we're not using queues for whatever reason, we get rid of them. Okay.
Can you hit?
And again, this is. Go ahead.
Sorry. Can you hit in where it says status with the arrow down, that little column header right there, and just click on it so it will try to sort it? And then I wonder how far back.
Yeah.
New. Okay, so it's going to take everything from previous days too. Okay, cool.
All is absolutely all, right? So all is from when I started. So I turned this on at 4:21 p.m. on February the 9th. So that's what we have. We can do so here, watch this. I'm gonna clone this. I'm gonna call this all open. All right, so now we have an exact copy of that, and we're going to add a filter that says status does not equal dispatched or closed. Those are our closed statuses, right? So we can also do a list view that is just new and open, right? So those are ones that you have to touch, right? Those are ones that absolutely need something to happen with them. But as of right now, you can see these are, because nobody's in working these right now, so it looks worse than it is, right? But they're going to be coming in just like they come in to the inbox, right? So it's going to be dropping in new cases throughout the day. The difference is you're not going to have to touch every single one of them, right? You can see here, let's see, team one's got the lion's share. I mean, a lot, right? Team one has a lot. I don't know how you guys sorted those things or whatever, but team two's only got a handful, so you 20 cases. Team three, 18.
So what about like so team three would be Michelle. What about her Walmarts? Like I've seen a couple of those come through. They might not be.
So those are gonna wind up. So those are going to be in other, because until we create those contacts, right? So Walmart, like PO Tracker, whatever. I don't know what you guys get, right? So you're going to have you're going to have work orders come over from Walmart, and they're going to come in, but they're not going to recognize that contact. So when you have one of those, let's see if we can find one. All right. And they may not be coming over depending on how they're filtered or how they're sorted. I mean, the forwarding rolls on the dispatch inbox. Once it's live, absolutely everything from the inbox is going to be coming in. Yeah, so these might not be coming over. Let's see what they look like. All right, so what do the Walmart jobs look like? Where's it come? Do you know what folder it goes to?
It comes over as like a service. Type in like SERV. I can't remember what it. We just had one. Let me check, Jesse.
Does it say facilities on it? Whatever.
No, that's like Citigroup.
Okay.
I don't see any.
Search. I'm gonna hold my. It comes up like this, Jesse.
I can't see that.
It comes over as like Walmart in like a little, like I don't know what that symbol is. It's the. I guess that's Princey. Yeah.
So we got Brain, service request at Sam's Club on us.
So there it is. Search that or search one like that that has like Dan. The Dan email, that Dan sent. There's two up. Yeah, that one. So click on that.
New service request. Does it come from Walmart?
It comes from service request at scalert.com. Service channel. Oh, you know what? I'm stupid. They only come to people on the Walmart at servsolutions.net email. So it's only me and Michelle.
So it's not going to dispatch.
Nope.
So two options, right? One is forward those emails to dispatch. We can create a new inbox to accept those emails. And they'll filter just straight to Michelle. They won't go, to the Walmart queue, but they'll create cases. Or just skip it for the Walmart calls.
Just enter a case manually.
Or don't use cases.
Yeah, I guess okay.
I mean,
it's
really going to be up to you.
I'll talk to her because it's not like we get enough where it's like, where it'd be super beneficial to create cases. So I'll talk to her.
Hold up a second. Don't we have a Walmart at Serve Solutions email?
Yeah, that's where it goes to. There he is.
All right. I'll have to go to I'll have to go in the admin and find out what it is. I think it's a group.
It is. I think it's From what I remember, it's me, Michelle. I know John's on it. I don't know who else is on it.
All right. What's your immediate reaction? Do you want to?
If it's going to be a like another, I'm not like it's not a big deal because they come to Michelle's email. You know what I mean? So
So here's, yep.
I think it's okay without the case.
All right. So it is a group. So it would be very easy.
Okay.
Very easy for me to, it would be very easy for me to set up a separate email address and get cases flowing.
Okay.
But if they're already coming to her email, it may be doubling her workload.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I told Michelle that she would still have stuff coming directly to her email, more than likely. That right now we're just doing stuff that comes directly to dispatch. I don't know if you want
Yeah,
to
that's
keep it
cool.
like that, but
That's fine. Like I said, we can make this decision later. We don't have to do it now. It is absolutely going to be zero impact if the emails aren't coming to dispatch, they're not going to be going into cases as of right now. So should be fun. Okay. So excuse me, again, as we go through and we create more contacts, right? So there's going to be kind of like this honeymoon phase where we're not going to have all the contacts that are sending these emails over, right? But as soon as we get an email that doesn't have a contact on it, right, and it goes to that other inbox, whether it's you, Madison, or whether it's somebody else, you do a quick search to see if that person exists as a contact. And if they do, update the contact with the email address or create a new contact, right? And it's just as easy as what I showed you on in the flow. And then as soon as you do, then every email that comes in from that person then gets routed properly, and it's going to be another group of emails that you don't have to touch on other. So that honeymoon period that I'm talking about, there's going to be a lot of people that either don't have contacts or have duplicate contacts or whatever. Then you need to, oh, and that was the other thing I was going to show you. And so that's something that you can work out, right? Who was the contact that we just saw that had a duplicate? Was that Express
yeah, sales. I forget what.
Express Facilities or something?
Yeah.
So let's look at Express. Yeah, see this guy here. So this is not finding a duplicate because the name is not included. Right now it's only looking at email address. But if it was, and I believe you guys have access to do this as well, and you see that it has a duplicate, right? It'll say we found however many duplicates. Then over here it'll say merge duplicates or view duplicates or something like that. And when you do, it'll pop up a screen that has all of your duplicates on it, right? All of your contacts. You just check the boxes and then hit next, and then you select which one you want to be the master, and then you hit merge. So here's what I'm going to say. For KBS, we link contacts. I link contacts by external ID. So if you see one that has an external ID, I don't even know if you have access to that field, but if you do see it, use that one as the master, okay? Otherwise, it doesn't matter. If it's the same name and the same email address, just go ahead and merge them. If there are duplicates, the process won't work. The case process won't work. It won't filter the contacts through. So if you search for the contact and you see that it exists, go ahead and step out of the process for a minute, merge it, and then come back and update the case. Okay. What else? I think that's it. How do you guys feel about this so far? Dave's got a baby.
No, I think it. I don't know. Me personally, it looks kind of. I just want to get in there and kind of get going. You know what I mean? I'm more of a visual
Yep.
kind of get and go, and then I'll let you know. I think. I mean, I
Okay.
like seeing. I like being able to see. You know, I think the accepted cases, who's got them, who doesn't have them. You know, who. I think it'll be
Yep.
good to look at the end of the day for me and Madison and say, okay, like we've sent 20 cases to this person and they've only done 2 of them. You know, we've sent 40 to this person and
Exactly.
they've done 35 of them. Like, what's going on here? You know?
What is going on? Absolutely. So, and there's other things that we can kind of discuss too when we get to this, right? Somehow I changed this filter. Oh, there we go. So, as of right now, we've got almost 500 cases entered today, right? If people are not messing with that and people are not touching them, right, you're going to have a lot kind of backing up on you. Same as on the inbox. I have a feeling that the same thing happens with the inbox today, except things kind of get lost, right? So what we had discussed previously was we need a way to track this to make sure that these emails aren't slipping, that we're not, missing, getting back to people and whatever. This is absolutely going to do that for us. The problem with that is that it's absolutely going to stack up on us if we don't manage it and we don't stay on top of it. Right?
Right.
So imagine starting right now. Okay, start. We turned it on yesterday. Okay, Madison, go through and sort these and assign them. You'd be like, hell no, I quit. Right? I'm not going through 500 cases and trying to do all that. That's crazy. And I wouldn't blame you, right? So we're going to have to talk about it. We're going to have to review it, work through it. You and David will have access to the inbox for the rest of the week, for a month, for whatever, however long you need it, right? You can have it. The inbox is not going to be touched or shouldn't be touched, right? You should be doing everything right through here, right? That being said, if you need to jump out because for whatever reason you think it's faster or whatever, do it, but tell me, hey, I had to jump out at this time because there were 40 of these and I couldn't do this, whatever this is, right? And then we'll talk about it, we'll figure it out. Okay?
Cool.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
I know you're just going to be in your inbox. David, I know you're just going to be in your inbox. New stuff, man. Forget it. New stuff. The hardest part is going to be getting started with this, and then once we're rolling with it, it's going to be so much better. These views are going to change. You're going to have reports. You're going to have access to list views. I wanted to give you a good working dashboard to start with, something that shows you, okay, what do I need to do, and how do I get to it, right? These reports are clickable. They're totally clickable. You can click on it and get to a filtered report. So if you just need to work on KBS, or you just need to work on IVRs, or if you just need to work on whatever, we can do list views for type, right? We can say, give me all my IVR voicemails and just start banging out cases for IVR voicemails, right? You can link them to the work orders. The IVR voicemails should link to the work orders automatically, but we're going to see how that works. I don't know how that's going to work yet.
So if I type in at the top that search this list, I could go ahead and put in Glenn Swiller right up there and then find everything Glenn Swiller first, right? That should by sender.
So when you click in the list, you can see contact name, date open, owner name, contact account name, and created by alias are not searchable. So it'll tell you what's not searchable. So no, you can't click Glenn Swiller, but you could sort and do that, or you can hit your filter here and say contact name. equals Glenn Swiller. Right, now the thing to remember is when you do that, especially if you're on all cases, if you do that, you want to make sure that you undo it before you, just by clicking X and then hit save.
Okay.
Because otherwise you'll see all cases and you'll be like, how come I only see 2? And you'll forget that you had filtered it, right?
Yeah. Okay. That will be really important. There's a lot of keywords that I use when I'm in the inbox, and I try it. Like I know, like at a certain time, I just need to go ahead and start looking for the word rental in an email by like 2:00 or before 2:00. Like I need to be able to pull all those emails up to see what needs to be looked at. But you know what I'm saying? Like that, just it doesn't have to be rental. It could be
Yeah.
anything. I just need to be able to.
Right. What I mean is you can search and you'll get subject, right? You can search and you'll get other things. There's just certain things that you can't search on, right? And you can also, so check this out. You want Glenn Swiller. You can go to Glenn Swiller, you can go to related,
Mhm.
and there's all his cases.
Okay.
And these should be filtered right in order if they were created. Most recent, right? So most recent and by status, right? These we can also filter. So when you're in the list, I bet you didn't know this. So when you're in the contact, right, you can click on the cases in the related list,
Mhm.
click on view more, right, and then click on this filter, and then you can say I just want anything that says rental, right? So then you can click rental and then hit apply, right? And if there was anything that said rental, you could have it there. You can clear that and you can say, nah, forget that. I just want anything that's awaiting reply from Glenn, right? And there's nothing, but whatever. You can pick different things.
Okay.
Or you can just leave it wide open. You can do the same thing on the accounts. As long as it's related, you can see it, right? If it's from an ASP, you won't see, you'll see it on the ASP contact, right? Whichever one, you linked to the case. Oh, what did I do? I'm in Kanban. Oh, and I showed you guys the Kanban views and the split views before, right?
Yes.
So the Kanban gives you that so that you can drag and drop between whatever. All right. And then split view gives you your list here. This is your list of accounts. And then if you click it here, it opens the record in the right panel. You can do that for both cases and accounts and contacts and whoever. It's not so valuable for everything, but it's pretty valuable for this cases anyway. Okay. Please play with it between today and tomorrow. When do you think we should schedule training for?
I wouldn't do it. David, I wouldn't do it like right before 1:00 or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely later in the afternoon.
So Friday afternoon, Thursday afternoon, when do you want to do it?
I don't know about Friday.
Do you think they'll come in?
Right.
Do you think
So-
they'll come in and mess around with it in the sandbox?
We have some of the team members are off on Friday, so
Yeah.
Thursday maybe like 2-ish.
Okay, I'll check my calendar and free it up. Regardless, whatever's going on tomorrow. What's going on? No, I got nothing going on tomorrow, so I will do it tomorrow afternoon. You said what time?
I mean, it's up to David really, but I would
So
assume.
I got a Amazon call at 2, but it shouldn't last too long. So I mean, if you want to do it, I guess a little after 2, I could jump on.
Okay, I'll set it up for 2:30, And then if you need to adjust, let me know. Okay. Matt, one of you could please send me just a list of everybody so I don't miss anybody on the invite. That would be awesome.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and